You just finished a chapter, closed the book, and already can't remember what you read. You were nodding along the whole time. The words made sense on the page. But the moment you look away, most of it dissolves. And tomorrow morning, even less of it will be left. You tell yourself you're just bad at memory. You think other people are wired differently. They're not. Your brain isn't broken, you're using it backwards. Learning is not what happens while you're reading. Learning is what happens when your brain fights to pull the information back out. That single shift changes everything. By the end of this, you'll know exactly why what you learn slips away and how to make it actually stick. And the first fix is smaller than you think. Here's what's really going on inside your head when you learn something. Every new idea creates a fragile little connection between brain cells. That connection is faint at first, easy to lose. Your brain treats most of what you read as temporary. It assumes, if this matters, I'll see it again. So when you never test yourself on the material, your brain quietly deletes it. It's not laziness, it's efficiency. Your brain is protecting you from an ocean of useless input every single day. The problem is, it can't tell your dream job's textbook apart from a random billboard. Unless you signaled this matters, keep it. It will let almost all of it go. Most people confuse recognizing information with knowing it. Those are two completely different skills. Recognition is when the answer looks familiar because you've seen it before. Knowing is when you can pull it out of thin air. Rereading builds recognition. It feels smooth, comfortable, productive. That smoothness is the trap. Because the moment the book is gone, so is the illusion. You never actually practice retrieving anything. This is where almost everyone goes wrong, from students to professionals to lifelong learners. They spend hours putting information in and almost no time pulling information out. And your brain only strengthens the paths you actually use. So here's the fix, and it starts with a technique called active recall. Active recall is simple. You close the book, look away from the screen, and try to say what you just learned out loud. Not check, not skim. Say it, struggle a little, then look back. That small struggle is the moment your brain files the information for real. Neuroscientists call this the desirable difficulty. It feels harder than rereading, and that's exactly why it works. If learning feels effortless, almost nothing is being stored. If it feels like light mental strain, memory is forming. Think of your brain as a muscle at the gym. Lifting a pencil doesn't build strength. Lifting something heavy enough to shake, that builds strength. Same rule with memory. A little effort in remembering is the entire workout. Try this next time you read something you actually want to keep. After every few pages, stop, look up, and ask yourself, what did I just learn? Answer out loud in your own words, before you turn the page. You'll feel silly for a day. You'll be shocked at how much more sticks by the end of the week. Now let's talk about the second half of the puzzle, timing. Because even active recall isn't enough if you do it once and walk away. Memory doesn't fade in a straight line. It drops off fast at first, then slower. Within 24 hours, most people lose the majority of new information they never revisited. That's not a flaw in you. That's a universal pattern known as the forgetting curve. But there's a trick that bends that curve almost flat. It's called spaced repetition, and it's the closest thing memory science has to a cheat code. The idea is quiet and powerful. Review the information right before you're about to forget it. Not the same day, over and over, not once a month, right at the edge of forgetting. Because each time you pull something back from the edge, your brain marks it as important. The connection gets thicker. The recall gets faster. The information starts to feel like it's always been there. A simple pattern works for most people. Review after 1 day, then 3 days, then a week, then 2 weeks, then a month. You don't need an app to do this. The flashcard tools can handle the timing for you. You can do it with a notebook and a calendar. The tool doesn't matter, the spacing does. If you've ever crammed for something the night before and forgotten it all by the weekend, this is why. Cramming stuffs information into short-term storage. Spacing invites it into long-term storage. One is a hotel room. The other is a home. And once something is in the home, it stops costing you effort. You stop dreading the material. You start recognizing yourself as someone who actually knows this. Now here's a technique that layers on top of both, and it's my favorite. It's called the Feynman Technique, named after a physicist who is famous for making impossible ideas sound simple. The rule is this: if you can't explain it to a curious 10-year-old, you don't really understand it yet. Pick something you just learned, grab a blank page, explain it, out loud or in writing, in the plainest words possible. The moment your explanation gets vague, or you reach for a big word you don't really own, you've found your weak point. That's the gap in your understanding. That's where your brain is bluffing. Go back to the source, patch that specific gap, and try again. Do this a few times, and shallow memorization turns into real understanding. And understanding is stickier than memorization, always. Facts you can only recite tend to leak away within days. Ideas you can explain in your own voice tend to stay with you for years. Here's a curiosity worth holding on to for a second. There's one factor that quietly controls how much of today's learning survives, and almost nobody was taught it in school. We'll get to it in a moment. It's not a technique, it's biological. But first, one more skill that separates people who remember from people who don't. That skill is connection. Your brain doesn't store information in neat little folders. It stores it as a web of links. The more links a new idea has to things you already know, the harder it is to lose. Isolated facts are slippery. Connected facts stick. So when you learn something new, force it to meet the rest of your mind. Ask yourself, what does this remind me of? Where does this show up in my real life? What's a story I could tell about this? Even a rough analogy is better than none. The brain grabs onto anything it can compare against. This is why teachers who use metaphors are unforgettable, and lectures who read from slides are not. You can do this alone, in the margins of your notes, in the corner of a page. Draw arrows to older ideas. That web is the actual memory. The words on the page are just a doorway to it. And here's the shift most people never make. You stop being a person who reads to remember. You become a person who connects to remember. That's the difference between a crammer and someone who actually learns for life. The crammer performs on Monday and forgets by Friday. The connector builds a mind that keeps compounding year after year. Now that curiosity from earlier, the biological factor. It's sleep. You do not lock in memory while you're studying. You lock it in while you're asleep. During deep sleep, your brain replays the day's learning like a tape running in the background. It moves fragile new information from short-term storage into long-term storage. It strengthens the connections that matter and prunes the ones that don't. Skip sleep and you skip that entire step. It's like taking careful notes and then throwing the notebook away. This is why an all-nighter often feels productive and performs terribly. You worked hard. Your brain never got to save the file. A steady, protected night of sleep does more for memory than an extra 2 hours of studying ever will. If you have to choose between one more chapter and 1 more hour of sleep, sleep almost always wins. If you've ever pulled an all-nighter and blanked in the morning, you're not alone. Your brain didn't fail you. It just never got to do its job. Even a short nap after a heavy learning session can help your brain begin the same process on a smaller scale. Rest is not the enemy of learning. Rest is where the learning is finalized. Alongside sleep, 2 small things matter more than most people realize: movement and attention. Even light exercise, a walk, a stretch, a few minutes of moving your body, increases blood flow to the brain and primes it to encode new information. You don't need a workout. You need to not be a statue for 8 hours straight. A short walk between study blocks can do more than another cup of coffee. Try it once and you'll notice. And attention is the gatekeeper of memory. Nothing gets stored that wasn't truly noticed first. Split attention is the silent killer of learning. Half a phone, half a lecture, half a book, and your brain files almost nothing. Single tasking, even for 20 minutes, will beat 2 hours of distracted studying every time. Protect your focus like it's the raw material of memory, because it is. 1 clean hour of focused learning is worth 3 foggy ones. Silence your notifications, close the extra tabs, give your brain something to actually hold on to. Let's put it all together into something you can use tomorrow. Step 1. When you learn something new, don't just read it. Look away and try to say it back in your own words. Step 2. Revisit it the next day, then a few days later, then a week later. Let the spacing do the heavy lifting. Step 3. Explain it as if you're teaching a kid. Notice where you stumble. Fix that spot first. Step 4. Connect it. Ask what this reminds you of and link it to something you already know. Step 5. Protect your sleep. Move your body a little and give one thing your full attention at a time. That's it. 5 habits. No tricks, no pills, no genius gene. Just the way your brain was built to learn. And here's the honest truth almost nobody says out loud. The people who remember everything they learn aren't smarter than you. They're just working with their brain instead of against it. They struggle a little on purpose. They revisit on a schedule. They explain things simply. They sleep. They focus. That's the whole secret. None of it is glamorous. All of it works. And it works whether you're studying for an exam, learning a new skill, or trying to keep your mind sharp for decades. If any of this hit home, you already know what to try first. Pick one habit from this list, not all 5, and use it today. One habit, done well, will teach your brain more than any long study session ever could. Small, consistent moves beat huge, exhausting ones, every single time. If videos like this help you think clearer and learn faster, subscribe so the next one finds you. Hit like if this earned it. It genuinely helps this channel reach more curious minds. And I'll see you in the next one, where we go even deeper into how your brain really works. Until then, be kind to your brain. It's doing more for you than you know.